Hi, my name is Steve Stine. Thank you so much for joining me. In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to look at some hand positioning for trying to play things like power chords and bar chords and things like that. Now, if you're not quite ready for those sorts of things, this is still a very useful thing to learn how to do, to really be aware of your arm positioning, your wrist, all of those sorts of things. So what I want to get started on is just talking about the first thing that I realized when I was learning how to do this is my approach. Once I figured out the approach with my hand to be able to play these sorts of chords, my life got a whole lot easier. So that's what I want to show you. When I play bar chords, let's go ahead and just roll through this real quick. I'm going to take my first finger and I'm going to press on all 6 strings on the 3rd fret. And then what's going to happen here is my thumb is going to come back behind the guitar, all right? And I'm going to clamp the thumb right behind the index finger. Now, some people like to put it a little bit more toward the center, maybe where your whole chord is going to be. I tend to find it easier for me to kind of squeeze right behind that first finger. But here's the trick. There's a couple things to really think about. Number one is make sure that you have the guitar neck elevated just a little bit. You know, if you're playing like this, obviously you're causing a disadvantage for yourself to try and play toward the floor. You want to bring it up a little bit if you can. The second thing is once you've got the guitar neck up a little bit, think about where your wrist and your elbow are placed. Now for me, to be able to play an effective bar chord, I need to make sure that my wrist is in a downward position. All right? If I start bringing that up, you can see it's going to be very, very difficult to try and use this first finger as a bar across all those strings. So I want to keep that wrist down a little bit. And here's a couple of really big things that I realized. Number one, if I bring my elbow inward a little bit, it makes the chord a lot easier to play, okay? If you think about like if I was playing a D chord, how I could face sort of outward, my elbow could be out like this. But if I wanted to play a C chord, it's going to be very, very hard to play in that position. So what I have to do to play something like C is I have to bring that elbow inward like this, which is going to rotate my whole hand and my arm for that matter, and make that easier to play. I do the same thing when I'm playing a bar chord. I move that elbow in just slightly, which gives me a little more room to reach these fingers for the bar chord that I'm going to be making. But that doesn't solve the problem that I have with trying to squeeze all 6 of those strings down, which is obviously usually a big problem for people. So what I'm going to do here is once I've grabbed on, instead of playing flat on my finger like this, what I'm going to do is kind of play just a little bit at the side. So when I grab onto this guitar, I'm going to roll that first finger, because my elbow is coming in like this, I'm going to roll that first finger back just a little bit like that. And that way, if my first finger is turned a little bit, bent a little bit, it's not going to have an impact. I can still press on all 6 strings at the same time. Now, we're going to learn all kinds of great little tips and tricks and things like that in a guitar course I've got. It's called Chord Mastery, and it's available at guitar-zoom.com. If you get a chance, please check that out and see if it's something that could help you. All right, so I'm coming across, I'm turning my wrist, or my elbow, excuse me, in, I'm turning that in a little bit, and now my finger is turned just a little bit. If you look at the front of your finger, if yours is like mine, you'll notice that there's little spots where the knuckle is, and there's an indentation. When I curve like this, when I turn inward, it helps that because I don't need to worry about my finger getting right where those knuckle points are. I can turn in and use kind of the side of my finger. Plus, as I turn that elbow in, it's also giving me more room to reach around this way with my fingers. See, if I come like this when I try and play, that's not going to work very well. I want to make sure I'm turning inward like this. Okay? So that's a great way to start learning how to play bar chords. Now, you can still use this sort of thing, again, thinking about a D versus a C chord and how you'd be thinking about where the guitar neck placement is, where the elbow needs to go, all those sorts of things. So remember, if you get a chance, head over to guitar-zoom.com, check out my guitar course, Chord Mastery, and see if it's something that can help you. And have a great day, stay positive, and keep practicing.